Good morning and welcome to Thought for the Day. And this morning I'm coming from All Saints Church. You see, a year ago, give or take an hour or so, I held my first service as the priest here in the parishes of Catherington and Clanfield. And it was in this place that I first preached. Strangely enough, and we didn't recognise it then, but I put in my sermon, today is not your typical Sunday. In fact, it's unique because I only get my first Sunday here once. Well, in terms of my experience, it was a unique Sunday because it's the only Sunday where we've been able to gather as congregation in any sort of normal fashion with all that has gone on over the past 12 months. So yesterday was the anniversary of my licensing, and today the anniversary of those first services. And in there, that sermon, that preach, that sharing of my heart really, I spoke of three things in terms of a dream. A whole person and whole community focus on God, on awe and majesty, on reverence and the sacred, of knowing personally and corporately of all sorts of things in terms of our worship together. We have had a strange worship journey in many ways, where we have been more online than in person, and when we've been in person, it's been very limited. And that is something in a way to lament. Well, no, it's definitely something to lament, but something to use to give us energy for the future, when we're back together, to really appreciate what we have as we worship corporately and share space with one another. The second aspect of that short sermon was talking about our discipleship together. This is a journey that hasn't probably developed as fully as my heart would have, because we haven't been together, because we haven't been able to share space in teaching and learning from one another. But I would say the recent advent in this Lent of our Lent course using John Mark Comer materials has been a really good thing. It is a good lead in discipleship. And out of that, I've seen the sort of hope for the future with the way that we're going to share resources more with neighbouring parishes and things like that. And as we work closer together, I know that Deb and Colleen are running a successful Lent course with neighbouring parishes as well. And it's really good that we're sharing our ministry with our neighbours. And through that, we'll be able to go deeper together. And in our Lent course here in John Mark Comer, we are sharing with house group members from other parishes as well. And then the what we do in the world. It's interesting, I've been reflecting, we think outward looking is a positive phrase for the church. But outward looking suggests you're on the inside looking out, rather than being out there. And so I think my heart, the phrase has changed in these last actually few weeks from outward looking to outward being. And actually where we are now, we are outward being, because the only place we can live our faith is wherever we find ourselves. And I frame that round the 5 marks of mission to proclaim the good news of the kingdom. And that's happening online, but it's happening through the little blessings and all the imagination that congregation members from St. James and All Saints have brought to that. To teach, baptize and nurture new believers. Well, I long for the day when we are baptizing new believers again. To respond to human need by loving service, and the outpouring through community groups and things of, just this community, to see it step up in this time of COVID has been amazing and humbling, and it's a joy to be part of that community. To seek to transform unjust structures of society, to challenge violence of every kind, and to pursue peace and reconciliation. It seems that's probably more important now than ever. We've had Black Lives Matter and most recently all the things we've seen around the fear that women feel. And that is wrong. That's not how society should be. People should not live in fear like that. What we've seen happening in the news should never have to happen and should never have happened. And what do we do as church into that? to make change, to change society, because we have a role to play. We'll wrestle with that in the coming days, I'm sure. And then to strive to safeguard the integrity of creation and sustain and renew the life of the earth. And we will do our part in moving ourselves forwards to be more sustainable. That is to come, but progress is being made. But all of these things have sat in this context of the strangest of years. And what I want to say is thank you to all of you, to everyone watching here, to all in the congregations for your faithfulness, for carrying on, for holding true to your faith at home and in our smaller gatherings together. And I just long to the time when we can come into St. James and into here at All Saints together in numbers and celebrate our return to being a worshipping community together, not to retreat inside our walls, but to use that to energize us going out and taking the good news of Jesus into our communities. Amen.